Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek. I am your co-host, Zach Badger Davis. Sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
Reminders. Support us on Patreon. If you guys like us, we are very grateful for your financial support via the Patreon page. We do bonus content for you, typically at the pace of a couple of episodes per month, sometimes slightly more, sometimes slightly less. That's what we strive for. We did one recently, the three of us, as in the third being Elise, on monetizing content, monetizing your backpacking influence.
Yeah, I think what we took away from that one is that we have another one to do in the queue with like more structure and planning. This one was kind of just like us rehashing our thoughts, like driving back from the Teton Crest Trail. So picture like me and Elise on the drive back. We've got 7 hours to kill. Just kind of recapping like pros and cons and things that work and things that don't, and just like an intro to the monetization world in more of an emotional way than a statistical way. But I think that we have plans to do one in the future that's going to be more like how to in terms of numbers and requirements and what it looks like and what to expect. But yeah, it got our wheels spinning for sure. And you can see us kind of like think through that in this Patreon, which I think is a good intro to a future one.
Yeah, that was the qualitative. The next one will be the quantitative, but definitely opined quite a bit on is it worth it? Like, unless you're going to be truly dedicated in a full-time capacity, it can oftentimes be a lot of work without necessarily getting the adequate payout.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, you need to, like, the vision is always, I want to do this so I can work less, so I can spend more time doing this. But in order to get to that point, you need to kind of go double time in the monetization route while also working a full-time job, which ends up giving you almost like 2 jobs, with the idea of maybe one day it will pay off enough that I can follow this dream. And like looking at that from a realistic standpoint, there's a lot less glamour to it than you might think. Yeah. And that was kind of what we went down the rabbit hole of.
Yeah. So go deep on that. That's an episode that I guess it just came out. So, and when you join us on Patreon, you get the backlog of all the bonus content as well.
Yep.
The next and last note is we are headed to New York City specifically. Going to host a hiker meetup there on September 16th. Still haven't finalized the venue, though I'm leaning 95% in one particular direction, but things have gone awry in the past, so I'll make it official when it's official. But yeah, if you're in the city, and especially in the Brooklyn area, would love to see your beautiful faces on the evening of September 16th. More details forthcoming. Anything you want to add to that?
It's a Monday, so put it on your calendar. While you're listening right now, while I'm talking, just open up the little calendar app on your phone and mark it down so that you don't forget. And yeah, we're excited to come see you guys.
Are you looking forward to New York pizza?
I love it. I love New York pizza and bagels.
I was going to say,
bagels.
What's another stereotypical New York food? Those are the two that stand out to me.
Well, when we go to Buffalo, we're going to eat wings.
Wings, duh.
Obviously.
Yeah. I was thinking specifically the city.
I hope I don't get roasted for this, but I think those are like the 2 biggies. There's just so much different food in the city.
Okay. I was going to do a fuck, marry, kill, but need a third one.
I mean, you've got food galore. You've got every kind of food. And
I was going to say, if you had to fuck, marry, kill, we'll just throw in, I guess, like a Jewish deli. That probably...
Marry.
Yeah.
Marry a Jewish deli.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Okay,
so Jewish deli, bagels, I know that's kind of an overlap, or pizza. You have to fuck, marry, kill.
Oh, I don't like this. I'm going to marry Jewish deli. I'm going to fuck pizza. I'm going to kill bagels, because chances are there are bagels at the Jewish deli.
Yeah.
So
it's also unfortunate that you're not a male, because fucking a bagel would make a lot more sense in that situation.
Yeah, well, to each their own. Should see what I do with that pizza.
Yeah, we're cool. That's it. Let's get right to today's overview. I don't know. I guess you have to read this.
Yeah. Overview. I know absolutely nothing about what you did. Intentionally.
I knew very little going into it, but I have lots of information now.
Well, I have to read your intro, because if Rachel did anything to you like she did to me.
I did read it. It is good. Yeah.
Okay. Now to our interview with Zach. Zach is known for being the founder of the trek and a generally well-respected thru hiker despite never having hiked the Appalachian Trail. In addition to that, he gave himself his own trail name, Gasp, tends to forget sleeping pads on backpacking trips, and roots for a failing NFL team.
Ouch.
But he has cute dogs and cute kids, so we forgive him.
Nicely done, Rachel.
Yeah, that was good.
She's got a future writing on the Kimmel Show or something like that.
Yeah.
But yes, okay. Let's talk about this backpacking trip that I did. So I wanted to make sure I get the pronunciation right because I was saying it definitely wrong every day leading up to it. It's the Weminuche Wilderness in southwest Colorado. It's in the San Juan Mountains. My original plan for a backpacking trip was to do the Sawtooth Wilderness Loop. That was immediately downstream of a ton of the large fires happening out west. So instead of getting inhalation, smoke, lung cancer, decided to stick to something a bit more local. Local is maybe a misnomer because the drive to Durango is 6 hours, which I forgot how long 6 hours is in the car. It makes your eyes bleed. But yeah, so if you wanted to find routes for this hike online, you would search Elk Park to Needleton Stop. It's a little bit clunky, and I think it needs a little bit of a rebrand. So it's the Weminuche, and you can get there via the train that goes round trip from Durango to Silverton. So I'm going to call it the Weminuchoo Choo Loop.
Okay. As long as I don't have to say that back.
You get it though, right?
I was wondering why you wrote
Choo.
the word woman-ooch, and now I get that was the reminder on the pronunciation.
How would you have guessed to pronounce it? I guess it's not fair now that I've
It's
said
hard because now I know.
Yeah. I was saying Weminuche.
Yeah.
Apparently this is a big enough deal that, do you know who Kyle Clark is? He's like a local news guy. I don't know what channel, but he's the most popular local news person in Denver, and he did a segment on the correct pronunciation of this word. So,
really?
Yeah.
It's wild because I've never heard this word, and I've been in Colorado for 10 years.
Yeah. Shout out to Ian, blanking on his last name, not Mangiardi, and Twinkle for giving me the intel on where to go for this. So they flagged not only the wilderness, but specifically it's called the Chicago Basin, which is kind of like the southern portion of this loop. And although it's not a hidden secret by any stretch, it was very popular, very crowded out there. Crowded's maybe an overstatement, but there were more people than I was expecting given the location. It lived up to the hype. So thank you to those guys for kind of pointing me in the right direction there.
And is this all, like the people you're seeing, are they also doing the Weminuche Choo?
Weminuchoo Choo Loop? No, the vast majority of people are taking the train it's the Needleton Stop. So that's where I ended the hike. And then they just hike up, I think it's the Needleton Creek Trail to the Chicago Basin. So it's like 8 miles or so from that train stop to the basin. And then that basin is popular because it sits at the base of 4 14ers. So you take a side trail up to an area where you can bag 4 14ers, and that'll come into play later on in my detailing of my hike.
So are you driving to Durango, parking the car in Durango at the train station, and then there's no other logistics apart from hop on and off this train?
Correct. Let me get into the train part of it because I was excited at the idea of it. I had heard of it. It's the same train that you take for the Colorado Trail. I was aware of it. It seemed very novel and exciting. I'm glad I did at least one leg of it. I would never do it again unless I was doing it like with my family or something like that. But to do a 6-hour drive down to Durango to get to the Elk Park stop from Durango is 3 hours.
Oh.
It's like a flight from here to Seattle or something like that.
And you did this all in one day?
No. So I drove in on Tuesday, and I dropped Jenna off at the airport that day. So it was a lot of time in the car. Then immediately drove down to Durango, got in that evening, grabbed a burger and a beer, and then got to the train station first thing in the morning to catch the train. And then you're sitting on that for 3 hours. And like, I was stir crazy from driving the day before to add another 3 hours of just sitting on the train. did drive me a little bit crazy.
Is that because you've seen these mountains before and it wasn't new? Because I would imagine if someone flew in to do this, that would be a really cool train ride.
I think there's a ton of value in doing the train, but I was just so ready to stretch my legs. Just the act of having to sit for another 3 hours was making me go crazy. It is very pretty, but I think it'd be cool to do when you're older, or I just think that there's...
Older than you?
There are a lot of older people on there, like retired age folks, young families and stuff like that. I think that's the more appropriate setting for it. It's also expensive. The round trip ticket was like $130.
Really?
Yeah. We can get more into the breakdown on that as well, because you can... if you want to take the train both ways, the smart way to do it from a backpacking standpoint is to buy the one-way ticket. I think it's roughly half that. I don't know off the top of my head. And then you can do what's called flagging the train down. So you basically just stay at the stop that you want to get picked up at. For most people, it's going to be Needleton. And then I spoke to 2 people on the phone who worked at the Durango Depot. One person told me it was $40. One person told me it was $35. On the way back, I ran into Taco, who's been to a bunch of our hiker meetups. Like, I was getting on the train. She's like, Zach! Mara's doppelganger.
Yes.
And chatted with them for the entire ride back. They paid $20.
Okay.
So I think it's a little bit negotiable. I don't know. But you could definitely save a lot of money that way just by buying the guaranteed one-way ticket, getting dropped off at Elk Park, and then just flagging the train down on the way back.
It's kind of cool, the train hitchhike. You're train hitchhiking.
Yeah. And I think it's very popular for especially like CT and CDT hikers to do.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So if you didn't want to spend any money, there's another way you could do that where you would... The smart way to do it would be to drive to Mullis Pass, which probably sounds familiar because that's on the Colorado Trail. Park there, and then you could hike all the way to the Needleton stop. If you keep going on the trail there, it'll take you to a trailhead at the same road as Mullis Pass called Purgatory Trailhead. And that way you're basically going from road to road, and then you would just hitch back up. I would imagine that hitch is probably like 15 or 20 minutes. But Twinkle suggested to do that instead. In hindsight, he was right, but I was so dead set on wanting to experience the train. But if you're budget conscious or don't like the idea of sitting on a train for a long time, that's the way to do it. It's additional hiking. I didn't actually map out the distance because going to the train stops drops you off in the backcountry. Like, you're pretty far off the road. I would imagine from Mullis Pass to Elk Park, it's probably in the range of like 5 to 7 miles, something like that.
That's not terrible.
No, not bad at all. And probably similar for Purgatory. So, add 10 miles or so to the full loop that I did to get the total distance. But yeah, if you wanted to save money and see the same stuff, that would be the way to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I have. I've parked at Mullis Pass. I've camped at Mullis Pass, and I've hitchhiked solo to Mullis Pass.
Yeah.
Very doable.
Yeah, I believe that's where is that where you hitch into Silverton from on the Colorado Trail?
No, not if I'm thinking about the one I'm thinking about.
I could be wrong, but I think that is the place. I can't say with great confidence, but just like quickly looking at the map, that looked like the closest road crossing to Silverton.
Yeah, I mean, gotta echo that my hike was fucky as fuck.
Sure.
So it where I hitched in and out of places had nothing to do with resupply towns.
Yeah.
It was just me being stupid.
Yeah. So part of the loop of this obviously is the train is connecting some of the distance.
Yes.
If you were going to bypass the train and hike in, I call that the Weminuche horseshoe.
I think you wrote Weminuchoo Choo Shoe.
Well, so there's a version where if you do the train and a hitch, so I forget how this would work. You would have to train in from Silverton to Elk Park, then hike down to Purgatory and hitch back to Silverton. That would be the Weminuche Choo Shoe. It's the combination of the horseshoe and the choo-choo.
I feel like in your head while you're doing this hike, there's just like monkeys clashing cymbals like while you're thinking of all these things.
Because I was racking my brain on what to call it because Elk Park to Needleton is a little clunky. I wanted something.
Yeah, and before you left, we settled on the P Trail because it looked like a P.
Yeah, that's right. That was in the consideration set, but yeah, I just wanted to get choo-choo involved in there because you're on a train.
Sure. Okay, so walk me through the distance. The distance, the elevation gain.
Yeah.
How many days?
So according to, I think, All Trails is where I pulled the data. So the loop doing the Elk Park to Needleton without doing any extracurricular is 37.5 miles and about 8.6 thousand feet of gain. I would highly recommend anybody doing this hike to add in at least one of the 14ers, which is what I did. I did Windham Peak. Apparently 2 of the peak options out there are quote unquote class 2 hiking. That's bullshit, by the way. We'll get to that. But the view that I saw from the top of Windham Peak was the best view I've seen atop any 14er in Colorado. Just the San Juans are, I think, the prettiest mountain range in the state. Yeah. And like you had vastly different views on both sides of the peak. And yeah, it was just spectacular. So that version that I did is about 42 miles and about 11.4 thousand feet of gain, according to the route that I drew on Onyx. Yeah.
So you're only climbing like 2,500 feet a day?
I did it quickly.
Okay.
And part of that will be revealed in
I don't know why
later.
I'm thinking 10-mile days there.
I did it in 2 nights. I talked to people out there that were doing it over 4 or 5 nights. So, I was moving fairly quickly. For no particular reason other than I'm still in a place where I just get bored sitting still. Like I would rather be hiking, and I'm not in the best shape, but I'm in good enough shape for that amount of time that I can do it pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
So for me, 2 nights was perfect. I definitely kicked my ass a lot on the first day. Part of that was because it was so hot. The second day was very chill, was taking lots of breaks, and was out on day 3, and like I didn't feel stressed about the distance really at any point, maybe slightly on the first day.
So you do like a 10, a 20, and a 10?
It was 14, and you don't get to Elk Park until 11:30. So, and that was the biggest climb of the trip. So that was pretty tough. The next day was 16 and a half. That was very chill, and I slept in late. Was to my campsite by like 6 or so, taking lots of breaks, and then out the last day. And that included waking up early to go bag one of the 14ers.
Very cool. So someone could, in theory, do this as like a long weekend trip.
For sure. Yeah, this would be a great long weekend trip for sure.
Okay. Cool. Well, where do you want to start? Do you want to just go chronologically and tell me a story about what happened?
Yeah. Let's see. I'll just start right at the meat because I've been teasing this to at least you guys in the text for a long time. But I'll lead this by saying I apologize to people of the trek because there will be no trail profile for this one. And to you because there will be no video for this one.
Oh, Zach.
Did
you forgot your phone?
I wish I could say that was what happened. So
worse?
Yeah, worse. So on the day where this is the last day, I'm climbing the 14er. I've been using primarily over the last like 6 months Jabba's pack, which has like the mesh front pocket, which just like stretches when you put stuff in it. Primarily for me, that's my phone.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is this why you've been texting a different group chat than the Backpacker Radio chat?
I still haven't figured out why it's different.
Because it doesn't have Elise's email.
Ah, okay.
I thought something was different. I didn't want to call you out on it, but and this is why you were texting me from your Zolio.
Yeah. No, I did that earlier. I'll get to this.
Okay.
So climbing one of the 14ers, you get up to Twin Lakes, which is stunning. Not the Twin Lakes that most people think of in Colorado, but at the base of the 4 14ers, there's 2 lakes up there called Twin Lakes. To get to the peak of Windham Peak, you go through a boulder field, and literally I was at 13 and a half, like very close to the top, and I had run into somebody, a pair of hikers out there, and one of the guys started giving me 20 questions. He's like, when'd you get out here? Like, what sort of backpacking have you done? Where do you live? What do you do for work? And then by the end of it, I was being very vague. I said I run a website. He's like, are you Zach Davis from the trek? I'm like, you got me. Literally 30 seconds after meeting these pair of hikers, we're hiking together. I lean forward to like grab one of the boulders, and my phone just flips out into the boulder field and like plinkos down. Are you familiar with Plinko from The Price is Right?
I know Plinko.
Like plinkos down, like hits a rock, and you can just hear it falling deeper and deeper.
Like down like a cliff that you can't go get, or into like boulders like Weminuchoo Notch, kind of like you can't get your arm down there.
Yeah, Weminuche Notch. Think Weminuche Notch. And I have my Apple Watch with me, so I can ding the phone. I can hear it. It's close. It's like probably, I would guess, 6 feet below my feet, something like that. And keep in mind, my phone, I've been communicating with Jenna because I've been using the Zoleo. So like she's been kept abreast the entire time. All of my maps, like every photo and video that I had taken from the trail, just down in the crack. I can't reach it from one side of the boulder. So I go down to the other side and like pull out legitimately like a 50-pound boulder.
You're so strong.
And, yeah. And like move that to the side to create a little bit of a hole. And I go head first into the hole to try to pull it.
That's such a bad idea.
Literally to the point where like from the rocks up, all you can see are my knees to like the tops of my feet. And I'm down there like fishing around. First, like a pack of like 50 moths fly out at me. Yeah. Then like in my back, I can feel one of the boulders shift. And immediately I got out. I'm like, this is how I die.
Yeah.
Trying to retrieve my phone and a boulder like pins me there. There was that one guy that, shout out to Kurt, that Kurt was with me when that happened. So if it had pinned me, I might have had a chance of surviving, either him helping me remove the rock or at worst SOS coming fast enough that I'm not going to die. But in hindsight, I hope anyone listening to this never makes that mistake. Your phone is not worth it. Like if you can't reach it with your hand on top of the boulders, let it fucking go.
Did you consider other things before abandoning it? Because I didn't think you would crawl in there. That does seem dumb. But like, did you like wrap Luco tape sticky side out on one of your trekking poles and try to like,
I couldn't even see it. I literally, at no point could I see it. And when you ding it, it lights up. It was deep enough down there that I couldn't even see the light.
Oh, so it was gone.
Yeah. I think it may have sounded closer than it was just because it echoes so well down there. Like there's nowhere for the sound to disperse. But I never even saw the edge of it. Like,
could you move more rocks?
After I moved a rock that wasn't even in my field of vision is the one that started to shift on my back. Like it's literally like playing like Jenga or something like that. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's, I'm very fortunate. And to get somewhat spooky with this is the night before, I woke up having the craziest dream of watching a cinder block come and fall in front of somebody in front of me.
Whoa.
And I've never had a dream even close to that before. But like, I remember a cinder block came and fell on top of someone, didn't kill them somehow, but they were like so stunned that they couldn't talk. Like, I wonder if my psyche was tapping into something like a mistake. Like, I think the connection between that and then feeling the rock shift was like, the alarms went off. I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, this is not worth it.
Does it make you believe more or less in like ghosts and stuff?
Having that dream. Necessarily think that.
Not like a ghost, but like the supernatural.
I definitely think that there could be a supernatural element to it. My mom has had a bunch of stuff where like she's had dreams and like the dreams have come true. Like she had a dream that she was going to be on Oprah like 2 weeks before their producers called to have her on the show.
It's a good dream.
Yeah. So I definitely think that some people can be tapped in that way. I don't ever have predictive dreams of anything. Like my dreams are just fucking sheer chaos.
Yeah.
That was the first time where I feel like maybe there was a connection.
Wild. Yeah. What is the aftermath like? Like how do you what phases of grief are you going through?
I was very sad, and not because the cost of the phone, which sucks.
Well, they have a ton of photos of your kids.
That, and I didn't back up my phone.
Oh no, Zach!
Yeah, I know. So there's a silver lining here. I was just beating myself up the entire time because literally I had gotten a new phone like probably 4 months prior, and traditionally the way that you back up your phone is you do it on a computer to get a backup on it. But with the newer phones, now you literally just I can't remember if you plug it in or if it just happens over Wi-Fi. So I was transferring from the last phone to this phone, and nothing was on a computer anywhere. So I didn't have anything. And I didn't pay for the iCloud backup because I couldn't envision a scenario where I was ever losing my phone. Duh. But apparently, good news for any iPhone users out there, iCloud automatically backs up 200 gigabytes worth of whatever. So I didn't have like a snapshot of everything on my phone. Like I'm having to download all of the apps again and like certain things, but it does back up 200 gigabytes of media. And I don't know like what it chooses, but it seems that it's the most recent media. So I have all the photos and videos of my kids, which was the thing that I was devastated about.
What about photos and videos of the hike?
No, because I didn't have internet connection when I was taking those photos and videos.
What about the video of Justin's interview?
Uploaded it. We'll have to check on that one. We'll have to check. Here, let's check right now. I think I would. Obviously, I was on internet since that, so I think there's a good chance. But here we go, internet. This is where we find out if you get to watch that or not.
Just me creating more stress.
Yeah. How do I have the photo of the three of us, but not the video? I don't have the video. Yeah, I can't remember if I uploaded it or not. I might have. I don't think I uploaded it. Shit. All right. Well.
Sorry to do that to you live on air.
Yeah. You guys are now learning with me that there's no video for that interview. Sorry, Justin.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
Did you know Jenna's number by heart?
Yeah. So that was one thing, is the guy that I was with, shout out Kurt again. I have one photo from this entire hike, and that's him taking a photo of me at the summit, and he emailed it to me. But he had an InReach, I think, and I was able to text her from his InReach just to let her know, like, hey, I don't have a phone anymore.
Oh, man.
I'm going to be back in Durango around this time, but I have my Zolio. So I was able to check in the entire time just to give her updates. But yeah, that definitely reaffirmed you have to have a satellite communicator device, because if I had lost my phone and I didn't have a sat communicator device, and let's just hypothetically say I was in an area where there weren't a shit ton of people, that's a really bad situation.
Were you able to navigate the remainder of it with ease, or was it quite difficult?
Yeah, so yes, because it was the last day, and I knew the route. It was just like I had to go back down to the junction with the main trail from the 14er, and then it's literally just one trail all the way to the end. But if that had happened earlier in the hike, once you break away from the Colorado Trail, I guess we'll have to backtrack to get to the exact route, there are some connector trails once you get off of the CDT as well that are pretty overgrown, have some excellent videos on a phone that no longer exists, and in parts kind of difficult to navigate. So if it had happened there, there's certainly a probability that I would have had to utilize the SOS feature. But yeah, that's definitely eye-opening for me. That's, you have to have maps. Some of that would have been hard to navigate because you're in dense trees, but there weren't too many trail junctions. So I'm confident that with a paper map, I would have been able to do it very easily. But yeah, it's just once you get used to having the blue GPS dot, that's so much more reassuring than just like trying to guess where you are in a map.
Realistically, if we're like being for real.
Yeah.
Are you going to start using paper maps or bringing them?
I think, yeah, just for something like that, literally just like a computer-sized piece of paper and keeping it folded up, and probably never using it, but just like keeping it as like a just-in-case type of thing. But I don't think I'd go as far as to buy like the expensive National Geographic or whatever map. For me, the bigger takeaway is I just need to do a better job securing my phone, because, yeah, I had it on... It was the chicken tramper gear. I had it in the outside pocket, like not even the part that is inside the zip. It's got like an outer stretch pocket. And it had fallen out a few times during the hike because it's not secured at all. And I always, when I'm doing like a water crossing, I always have the sense of mind to put it away. It just didn't cross my mind in a boulder field that is a bad place to drop your phone. In hindsight, a very bad place to drop your phone. So I think, a lot of learning lessons there. Namely, don't go after the phone once it's drop down there by pulling out boulders, but just to be more mindful of protecting the phone, because if it was in the stretchy mesh of the Zerk, this wouldn't even be a story.
Yeah. It feels like, if my memory serves correctly, when you were texting us about these blunders, there was a smaller blunder that happened first, maybe something that you forgot. Or was this it?
No. So when I texted you guys about the Triple Crown of easiest things to forget on a backpacking trip, I was actually packing for the trip when I did that.
Oh,
so
okay.
Nothing had gone wrong. I did have a couple of smaller blunders. One is that I did not test the flow rate on my Sawyer before going, and then I got out there at the first water source, and it was like a trickle. But I was able to do a little bit of field back flushing with the CNOC bag, which when we get to the gear section, I love that thing. I'm going to detail it, but I was able to get probably like 50 to 60% of the flow rate back with that. That's a pretty small mistake. It's not like I forgot to bring it. I just forgot to test it, which I'm sure a lot of people do. But yeah, definitely always back flush and or check it before heading out on a backpacking trip. And what was the other? Oh, fuel canister. I am a little too laissez-faire with the fuel canisters. Like after I use it a few times and I'm going on a new trip, I usually just tend to buy a new fuel canister. I'm like, that's so wasteful. This time I'm going to use one of the ones that I've used. Got 20 seconds of a boil before it ran out. So I was able to have a warm-ish dinner the first night. The rest of the trip I was cold soaking. And this just reaffirmed cold soaking sucks. It's so bad.
So hard.
It's like I had I think one backpacker pantry and 2 Mountain House dinners. And the cold soaked Mountain House dinners, like they weren't hard or crunchy, like it actually absorbed and finally got soft, but it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And not because I'm sure the meals would be good if they were hot, but eating a cold dehydrated meal is you're a loon. Like I don't think you like food if you are okay doing that.
Yeah.
Like you just eat to get rid of the feeling of hunger. I enjoy eating, and that's no way to enjoy food.
Yeah, I am always shocked at the people that are disciplined enough to do that and be able to make it through a day, because I feel like I need that special warm treat. And
yeah, no, it made for not good food otherwise.
Okay, walk me through the day by day itinerary. Let's start with day 1, but I want like a nice little like story time me through this.
Yeah, so 3 hours on the train, get dropped off at Elk Park. You get dropped off at about, I have a note here. I want to say it's like 8,800 feet. I wrote it down somewhere. And then, did you do that section on the Colorado Trail between Silverton and Lake City? You did that going in the direction of Durango?
I did everything to Durango.
Okay. So I did it the opposite way, and that's the direction I was hiking again. And you probably remember the descent into Silverton because it's long. Maybe not. It's easier to forget descents because it doesn't ruin you the way that a climb does.
If you're talking about, oh God, where was it? It was at like Stony Pass, maybe, the one that where it just goes down all those switchbacks, that road that's like 10 miles.
Yes.
I've gone down and up it by foot.
So yeah, going trails south/west from Stony Pass to get into Silverton there.
Yeah.
That's where I was hiking up.
Yeah, I've hiked up that. That sucks.
It sucks a lot.
That sucks hard.
Yeah. And it was like 92 degrees in Durango. It must have been between like the low 80s and maybe the high 60s, just depending on where it was on the trail. So it was hot as shit.
Yeah.
Going from 8,700 feet it's 8,800 feet to 12,700. So it's a massive climb, and there's parts of it where it's very steep and the trail can be loose in spots. That was the hardest part of the trip, but I was on fresh legs, and I didn't not train for this, but I also didn't go hog wild. But I felt like for this short of a trip, I was in fine condition. But yeah, I was like, literally when I got to the top, I wringed out my shirt. I was sweating so much. But that being said, for as difficult as that is, once you get toward the top of that, is one of the best views that I've ever seen in the state of Colorado. And it's the second time seeing it, and I'm extra heartbroken that I don't have the photos, though I do have the photos from doing it in 2015 with Java. But yeah, that pass doesn't really, at least on my maps, doesn't have a name, so I don't know what to call it other than it's the very top of that trail, and you look back and there's, again, an unnamed lake off to the right, and it's literally it's a postcard. It's stunning. It takes your breath away. So that was definitely one of the highlights of the trip. From that point, if you're doing the Colorado Trail, you would go left towards Stony Pass. That's where I deviate and go right, eventually connecting back up with the CDT. Let me pull up my map on Onyx. So that takes you to, what is this? Over toward Kite Lake and over Hunchback Pass, which is the CDT. I don't know if that's staying out enough for anyone who's done the CDT to remember it, but still a cool stretch. And it was very exciting for me to finally be seeing some new trail, because all that other stuff I'd seen, even though it had been 9 years, it did feel familiar, especially at the top there where it's especially beautiful. But once you get past Kite Lake and Hunchback Pass, then you just descend forever, basically. I hiked to an area called Stormy Gulch, and I'd like to give myself props here because I was looking for a campsite and I kept passing campsites that were like, in my book, 5 out of 10. Like clearly campsites, areas that had been cleared out, but none of them were that flat. And I could tell by looking at the topo that the Stormy Gulch area had good potential. And I'm glad I trusted my line reading skills, because there was an awesome campsite there. So that's where I stayed the night.
I'm pulling up my Colorado trail maps now because I want to see.
Yeah, you'd only be able to see the first like 8-ish miles basically of what I did. So day 2, again, this day 2 was about 16 and a half miles. It was, I knew I wasn't gonna have to kill myself this day, because I didn't want to go past the junction of the trail that goes up to the 14ers, which was about 16 and a half miles. So I knew that at most that was what it was going to do, which for a full day of backpacking, if you're not in like the toughest portion of the AT in Colorado, that's going to be pretty manageable. At least it was for me. Nothing to write home about really for the connector trail. What is the name of this trail? Vallecito Trail, which follows Vallecito Creek. Honestly, that entire section was pretty lackluster, and that was probably a good 12 miles if I had to guess.
Is this, so I'm looking at the Colorado trail map, I'm far out, and this orange line is the Weminuche bike detour.
Yeah,
So is that the same trail that you were doing?
No. I assume that is mostly road, but yeah, for the Colorado Trail, you can't go into any wilderness area on a bike. I can show you on your map if you want to see it.
Well, I saw the same name, so I was like, neat.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so basically where it turns to the north right there, that's where I jut south.
So you go that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a trail or if that's just the boundary of the national forest.
I think
so
it's
that
just
might
the
not, that might not be the exact line.
Vallecito Lake is near there. El Dorado Lake.
I
don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. Kite Lake. I found Kite Lake.
Kite Lake is.
You just said that.
Yep. Walk right past Kite Lake.
Okay. Oh, and I see a trail here.
Yeah.
Okay, I found you.
That will connect you over to the CDT.
Yes,
I guess at that point that is the CDT. So day 2 on the Vallecito Trail going south, it's like 12 miles of downhill, and honestly nothing to write home about. You're just in the forest. It's nice because it's downhill. It was very chill, but there were no views worth writing home about. And then that takes you over to, you will head west onto Johnson Creek Trail, which follows Johnson Creek. And then that is the next big climb of the trip if you're just staying on the loop, which takes you eventually over Columbine Pass. Once you start to get closer to Columbine Pass, that's where things start to get exciting again. You get right next to Columbine Lake as well. And the views from over there were amazing. I had a beautiful time-lapse video that I took of like the clouds rolling by the spiraling monolithic peaks, RIP. But yeah, everything up to Columbine Pass, like especially the last couple of miles, was spectacular. The wildflowers were out of control. I assumed that I was going to be too late for wildflower season, but they were great. Just the view of the lake from the pass, and as you climb toward the pass, is stunning. And then once you get to the pass, you get your first glimpse of the Chicago Basin. And this is the thing that it's pretty legendary online. Like I said, both Twinkle and Ian had recommended it to me, and it lived up to the hype. Like the peaks out there are stunning. It's got like deep shades of green. The peaks are monolithic and like have really interesting vertical features. To have that view at the pass where you look back and you've got Columbine Lake and then the Chicago Basin, you're at like 12.7, yeah, pretty close to 12.7. Was spectacular. That was a big high for me. And then down from Columbine Pass, it was literally just another 1.5 miles to the campsite. Again, I wanted to camp somewhere close to the junction, to the trail, to go up to the 14ers, because I knew I was going to do at least one of the 14ers. Found a nice campsite. If you're doing this route, I would recommend finding a campsite before you get to the junction. One, so you're not backtracking, but two, because the Chicago Basin area is so popular, there were so many tenters in the Chicago Basin on the other side of the junction to that trail. And that was on a Thursday night. I can only imagine if you're doing it on the weekend, it could potentially get even competitive to find a decent spot. I will say there is a lot of tenting out there, and it was, I don't know, if I had to guess, like maybe half what the capacity could be. But yeah, like on a busy weekend, I could see the tenting options being pretty sparse out there.
Okay, I'm at Columbine Lake. I feel really pleased that I'm finding all these places as you're doing it. It looks like there's a bunch of switchbacks going out of there.
Yeah.
Because you're going west out of there?
Yeah. Maybe it was just because it was a more relaxed day, but that climb didn't destroy me the same way that the climb out of essentially Moles Pass was. From there, I knew I was going to go bag at least one of the 14ers, so I left all of my gear at my campsite, minus some food, an extra layer, the water filter, and whatever other odds and ends. The climb to Twin Lakes is pretty intense. I don't have the stats directly in front of me, but I want to say it was something like 1.1 miles and like 1,600 feet of gain.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a 30% grade just to get up to the lakes, and the lakes are at 12.6. So the view at the lakes is awesome. It seemed like a lot of people were actually just hiking to the lakes and then turning back. One of my Zolio texts before I lost my phone was to Twinkle to get his advice on which peak was the most approachable. And apparently Wyndham Peak is listed as a class 2. North Eloise, I think is how you pronounce it, is one of the options, and somebody told me that is also approachable, class 2 style hiking. But there's one point where the trail is very narrow and there's a ton of exposure. Had I not lost my phone, I had it in my head that I was going to potentially do both of them. In hindsight, even if I hadn't, I don't think I would have had the time to do that because I had to be back at the train stop by 2:30 to catch the train. But yeah, once you get up to Twin Lakes, the views are awesome. I was there like right at sunrise. And then I head off to do Wyndham Peak, and they say it's class 2. It's not class 2. Like the last probably half mile of it is just pure bouldering. And there is a trail, very difficult to keep. Like I kept getting off of it. Worth the view once you get up there. And there's one area where if you're extra sensitive to exposure, might not feel great. I generally don't like exposure. It was okay. It didn't bother me that much. But the view from the peak there was the best 14er view peak I've ever seen. I feel like most of the 14ers that I've done is like you look in all directions and it kind of looks the same. Like it's just cool to be at the top, but like you look out in all directions and you don't know which direction you're facing. It all kind of just feels the same. Not the case here. You got one very clear view of the Chicago Basin and then one to the other side, which had completely different features and a giant lake. It was very cool.
How is this 14er in popularity compared to other ones? I know there's some 14ers that are like zoos.
Yeah. So most of the people that are out there, I think, are doing the 14ers. It seemed like a good chunk were just stopping at the lakes and turning back, but there's something called the Chicago Basin Grand Slam, which is to do all 4 of them in a day, which is a huge feat. But the peaks are close enough that it's definitely conceivable. Like the next peak to the northwest of Wyndham don't quote me on the direction, is Sunlight Peak, and it's close in distance, but that one's definitely much sketchier. You're having to navigate like Talus, and it seemed like it was at a pretty steep angle, and just was not my bag.
And so then you get to this train stop at Needleton, and from there...
Yeah, so lose my phone, get to the peak, come back down. On my way back down, there was a mountain goat in front of me, and he didn't want to do anything other than take the trail, but like he was annoyed that I kept moving in his direction. So like I would get maybe like 10 yards away from him. He'd look back and then like sprint ahead, but on the trail. So I'm just following him for the longest time. I would have had a good video of that. Eventually he peeled off because I think he realized what I was doing, but that was a fun wildlife encounter. It was me chasing this mountain goat for probably a quarter mile. But yeah, so descend the basin the base at Twin Lakes down back to my camp, pack up my camp quickly. At this point, I'm trying to move quickly just because I don't have my phone. I don't have navigation. So if I do get lost even a little bit, like I don't want it to be a situation where I'm missing the train. I was also potentially toying with the idea of hiking out to Purgatory Creek, even though I'd already paid for the train ticket, because one, the train is just so slow. Even Needleton Creek is the stop south of Elk Park, so it's not as long. It's still 2.5 hours. But I was worried about getting back to a Verizon store to get a replacement phone because, forget not having any audio to listen to in the car aside from the radio. Who does that anymore? I didn't have any navigation.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to get from Durango to Golden. So literally, I just needed something that could get me back. And I knew I was going to replace my phone eventually anyways. So I'm like, might as well just get it here. And I didn't know if there was a Verizon store, what time it closed. So I was just trying to find a way to get to Durango as fast as possible. So I toyed with the idea of doing that, but decided just to take the train. Glad I did. It was fun to hang out with Taco and her boyfriend, Starlink. She's a Triple Crowner. And yeah, it was nice to talk with them because it took my mind off of the phone thing. Because at that point, I was mad that I had to replace it from a financial perspective, but the thought that I was losing all those photos and videos was, I was depressed. I was very sad about that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, apart from the mountain goat, other animals, wildlife, bears, moose?
There are bear out there. Didn't see any signs of moose. Saw some elk scat, but just the typical Colorado stuff. Definitely saw a couple marmots, got very close to one marmot over by the 14ers. You could tell that he was habituated to people because like I was like from me to you to him, and then like it took a second for him to be like, you're not supposed to be this close to me. Chipmunks, had a deer come through my camp, but yeah, nothing too exciting beyond that. Okay. The mountain goat was the highlight for me.
Any spooky situations besides your cinder block dream?
Yeah. Spooky definitely is feeling a boulder shifting behind my back. Legitimately, there was a moment where I'm like, this could be it. This could be the end.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have taken much for that thing to just fall on my back, and I don't know what happens at that point.
You get squished.
Yeah.
Okay. Any water? How's the water situation?
That was one thing I didn't look into really at all. I just seen that there were creeks in the topo map, but in Colorado, that doesn't necessarily mean anything toward the end of the season, especially. And I know it's been dry in Southwest Colorado this year. That said, I don't think I ever went more than 2 miles without seeing any water. It was tons of water availability. It was a non-factor throughout the entire hike.
Okay. What about permits?
There's a self-registration permit in both directions. In the case that you die, the rangers know where you are. But yeah, in terms of logistics of getting back there, it was as easy as could be.
Would you do it with a dog?
I saw some dogs out there. The 14er part would be tough, at least the one that I did, because of the boulder fields. North Elois, by the sounds of it, is probably more approachable, but the rest of the trail, yes. I didn't take Sierra. I was on the fence-ish about it. She's pushing 7. It was hot out there. There's a lot of climbing. I don't know if that would have been hard on her.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got a younger, fit pup, certainly very doable.
If someone wanted to make this a slightly longer trail, is it just add the 14ers, or are there other things that you'd suggest?
So first, most people were doing it over a minimum of 3 nights. I crossed paths with one group that I think they said they were out there for 5 nights, which I think is pretty common for out there. So you could definitely make it a longer trip than I did just from that standpoint of just like not hiking hard all day. But I was looking at the map. I don't know, because I was cross-referencing Onyx with Gaia, and their maps didn't all line up. I was looking at ways to make it longer, and the fact that the trails didn't exist on both in some areas made me kind of like, am I just gonna be following game trail into what? I don't really know what it is. I'm sure there are cool routes that you could do to extend it, but I think the best way to extend it would be to bag all the 14ers, provided you have the skill set to do that. I saw people out there with helmets and ropes, so I would encourage people to obviously go with the correct equipment. And then if you wanted to add an additional, I'm assuming is probably in the range of like 12 miles, skip the train part and then hike in from Molas Pass and then hike out to Purgatory Trail, would make it well over 50 and like hard hiking.
Is there a map of the trail that you did that's easy to put in the show notes?
Yeah. If you just Google Elk Park to Needleton, I got the GPX off of All Trails and just plugged it into Onyx, which is what I followed the entire way, and that was perfect. And then that seems like it's a pretty popular route too. I met a few other people that were doing that. Most people were just doing the Needleton, Chicago Basin part, but yeah, there were a good number of people doing that. So
got it. Cool. Let's see. Did you have any fun pooping stories?
No.
Okay.
I pooped every day, but correctly in good places.
Good boy. And gear. So you mentioned the CNOC bag earlier.
Yeah. This is the piece of gear that I'm most excited about. And for the record, I actually paid for this one. But I'd heard, I think it's growing in popularity. I just was frustrated with the smart water bottle setup, partially just because it's cumbersome to constantly be twisting and untwisting the Sawyer squeeze to like get the air out to make enough pressure. But also with all the research coming out about like nanoplastics coming out, I have to imagine that crushing a water bottle is definitely accelerating that process. So I'm trying to keep as much plastic out of my bloodstream as possible. And yeah, the CNOC bags are awesome. So it's a large water capture bag. One end has like a small opening where you can screw on your Sawyer squeeze. The other end is just like a slider that opens up fully where you collect the water from. But the bag is comfortable to squeeze, whereas like the Sawyer bag has like those edges that it's like squeezing a porcupine. This one's soft all around. It's similar to the bag that you'd use for like the Catadine Be Free.
I feel like Elise brought this on the Teton Crest Trail.
Yeah, I think it's growing in popularity because I was going on the rant that I'm going on right now with Taco and Starlink. They're like, yeah, we use CNOC bags. So I think maybe we're just a half generation older of hiker where the CNOC is now like the status quo. And
interesting.
But yeah, this thing is great. It's nice because you can also carry an extra 2 liters of water for this hike. That wasn't necessary, but certainly for other hikes, it's nice to have that as an option. Collecting water was super easy and fast. One thing that I really liked about it is that the lids on both sides, like one's the slider where you open one end to collect the water, the other one's the end that you attach the Sawyer squeeze. They're attached to the thing, so you're not like keeping tabs on screw tops, which is something that always fucks me up. That part I really liked, and it's a little over 3 ounces. So I took the 28 millimeter Vecto X water container is the name of this thing, and they have the more common option is just like the regular Vecto. Apparently this one's newer and more durable. For even being like a slightly thicker plastic, it's only 3.25 ounces. Like I think that's a Cliff Bar. Like it's not much. So yeah, I'll be using this on every backpacking trip moving forward. So I'll let you know about the durability if it ends up breaking down. I'll definitely update you on a future podcast. But this was the new thing that I used that I was the most impressed by.
Cool. And then you took a Nemo as your tent.
Yeah, I was missing that freestanding tent life. If I'm more focused on my pack weight, it is stupid to have the redundancy of both trekking poles and tent poles. If I was going to do a bigger distance, I think I would go back to the One or Z packs or something like that. But for something like this, where I was carrying a lot of just extra things and I wanted to test something new, it was really nice to be back in a freestanding tent. Like the setup is just mindless, and it's just you have more interior space. It's just good all around. This one is the minimum weight. I forget what the weight is. 2 pounds 1 ounce. There's a couple of things here that one gives me a question mark. The other one is just a clear design flaw. They have the top clip. So like if you're looking at a freestanding tent, there's like the V portion and then the one that goes over the bulk of the tent. You know what I'm describing? The part that clips over the very top of the tent, like the magnetic North Pole portion of it. What's the terminology? It's called a flybar volumizing pole clip. This is designed to give you more headroom because like it juts out probably 2 inches on either side, and then the tent body goes over that as opposed to just going up at like a straight V shape. Yeah, you're looking at
this
it.
Guy?
Yeah, that's it right there. I was wondering why they did that. I thought maybe creating more space, because it also separates the rainfly a little bit more, would help with condensation.
Yeah.
From reading the website, that's not the purpose of the design at all. It's literally just to give you more headroom. I think if you're getting a ultralight tent like this, for me, I'm 5'11". I don't know if that's a trade that I'd want to make, because the clip itself is probably, it's probably a 1/4 ounce heavier than a normal clip. But in addition to being a little extra plastic, it's also just bulky to pack away. Is
it possible to set up without it?
From what I looked at, it doesn't detach. It's like sewn into the tent.
It looks like one of those little propellers on the top of a hat.
Yeah, it's kind of that shape. This is a very minor thing. I'm sure there's people out there that appreciate the extra headspace. It just seems like a curious design decision, especially for it being an ultralight tent. Like that's something you'd think would be added to like a more feature-rich tent. But for me, that wouldn't be make or break. It's just something to consider. Like if you want the extra headspace, then I think it's a cool feature. If you just want the lightest freestanding tent possible, it might be the deal breaker for you. The stakes, I don't know how they went through like the proprietary design iteration portion of this and signed off on these stakes, because like the hook part of the top of the stake where like the rope goes into, it is so sharp. It's like a switchblade level sharp. And if you're not mindful of where your finger is grabbing from, like if you're grabbing on the side and pulling at that hook, you will easily cut yourself open. I just set it up in my backyard before I left just because I wanted to see it, and made the decision, like, I don't even want these tents, because I will forget about that and slice myself open in the backcountry. So I just ended up bringing, I think, some Gossamer Gear stakes instead. But yeah, those stakes are bad. They need to figure that out, because there's no reason that it needs to be that sharp. It could definitely be like a duller edge to catch the rope and not be a hazard to people pulling it out.
Yeah. You've got one more item on here. Before we get to that, you talked about the rainfly a little bit, and that made me realize we haven't mentioned weather. What was the weather like for you?
Yeah, perfect. It rained when I got to the train stop. Which was fitting that it rained literally when I got to the end. But if anything, the challenge of the weather was just that it was hot. I sweat so much, especially on those climbs, especially on the first day. Like I said, I was wringing out my shirt when I got to camp. It was very, very sweaty.
What would be the seasonality? Like, what are the months that someone could do this?
Yeah, I would say it's in Colorado. It's just going to depend largely on the snow for that year. If you're not comfortable hiking in snow, I'd say in an average year, probably July would be game on, like early July. I was happy doing it this time of the year, even though it was a little on the hotter side, because although there were mosquitoes at points, I never once even considered putting on the picaridin. Like, I did get a few bites, but it has to get past a certain threshold for me to put the chemicals on my body to deal with it. And the sun hoodie that I was wearing was no protection against them. All of my bites were happening through that. So yeah, there were some mosquitoes, but for somebody that hates mosquitoes, it wasn't a deterrent for my enjoyment on the trip.
Cool. End of season would probably be September, October?
Yeah, definitely not October, unless, again, you're keeping a close eye on the forecast or you're ready to hike in some snow. I would say September is probably a good range. And if you're going to go at that time of the year, definitely keep an eye on the forecast, because snow can hit really anytime starting in mid-September, but most years it's October where things are going to get dicey.
And you segued us perfectly because you mentioned a sun hoodie.
Yeah. So the last time I went to my dermatologist, I shit you not, I had 5 more cancers. I know the C word scares everyone. These are not the bad. All cancer is bad, but this is the one you die with, not of. So I have to get them removed. They're not. It doesn't metastasize. I'm fine. Dave Portnoy got a lot of press recently because he had cancer, and it's the same cancer, and it's a basal cell carcinoma. Is not like a real thing. But so the dermatologist, I love him. He's a very good doctor, and he knows that I love backpacking. So he's like, I'm never gonna tell you to stop backpacking, but like, you're gonna have to wear more sun clothing. So he talked me into wearing a sun hoodie on this hike. I took the Free Fly Men's Elevate hoodie. I've got a couple of their stuff, got for free. But it's a good sun hoodie. I just hate it. I hate all sun hoodies, especially when it's hot. It's just like a hood is the thing you put on when you're cold to keep you warm. When you're hot, it has the same effect, so it just makes me hotter. So like, I'm constantly cheating on the hood and taking it off even when there's sun out. It's a trade-off between having adequate sun protection and being dehydrated because I'm sweating so much more. But this is a good sun hoodie, UPF 30. It's soft and very comfortable on the skin, but I just hate sun hoodies overall. But I would probably wear it again just because I needed the sun protection, and there's a ton of exposure on this hike. But yeah, it's a good sun hoodie, and I hate it.
I misread the last line you had here, which is, we need better invention for summer backpacking pronto.
Yeah.
I thought you wrote better invention summer backpacking poncho. And there's a patent pending for you, a sun poncho.
Yeah.
So it's not like constricting you. Because I don't like sleeves when it's hot.
More airflow would be good. There's got to be a solution out there. I was looking back because I was frantically looking through all of my photos and videos to see what actually kept. I stumbled upon my PCT videos, and on the PCT I was wearing, I forgot about this, just like a trucker cap with a bandana tucked into the back of it to protect it was covering my ears and my neck. It was a white bandana, so the UPF is probably abysmal, like 5. I'm just guessing. I have no idea. But that's another option, because you do get the airflow instead of it being connected to the shirt, and it does physically block the sun. But yeah, the thing with the sun clothing is like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it be cool and have a high UPF, because like, the stretchier it is, the more the UV rays will peer through. If it's like perforated, same deal. Like, if it's lighter in color, it's less hot but less UPF, generally speaking. I think it kind of needs to be opaque and not allow things to penetrate, which means it's not going to breathe well if it's going to be UPF effective. So there's got to be a better solution out there. I don't know what it is, but it sucks.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anything else that you haven't mentioned yet?
No, I think that's adequate for, it's a 40-mile hike. It was nothing too crazy, but this is like sort of the sweet distance for me nowadays, just having family and, being very busy. So,
if someone's to fly in to do this, is Denver where they should fly into, or is it worth paying more to fly to Durango?
That's a great question. If it's worth it, there is that airport in Durango, and I think it only flies to Denver, so you'd fly to Denver and then to Durango. I don't know how long that flight would be, probably like 35 minutes or something, 40 minutes. It is a long drive. It's up to you. I don't know.
if you don't have a rental car, like, would you rent a car or would you take a bus, a train?
There is a bus. I've never done it, but I know that people that come in from out of town to do the Colorado Trail do that. I should have looked more into that. That's a good question. I don't know.
Is it the Bustang?
It might be.
I always think that's such a funny word.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you're trying to save money, the bus would be the best route. If you're just trying to get there as fast as possible,
Private jet.
Fly into Durango. I will also say you could do this driving into Silverton. Part of the reason I wanted to avoid it is that drive from Ouray to Silverton, the $1 Million Hike.
So scary.
Yeah. I've done roads with more exposure that make me more nervous. I'd never done the drive myself to Durango. I've been driven to Durango, and like I wanted to see the town of Durango. That was part of the experience for me, and doing like the train from Durango, all that. But yeah, in hindsight, ironically, Silverton, as the crow flies, is much closer to like the Denver area, but it's faster to drive to Durango. Mm-hmm. But if you factor in the time on the train, much longer from Durango. So yeah, it sort of depends on how budget sensitive you are, but I would encourage somebody coming from out of town to probably fly to Durango if you've got the budget to do that.
Cool.
Yeah. Should we do a Kumo question? Did you guys do one?
Let's do a Kumo question. We might have made Elise do one. I don't remember.
I don't either. We'll both answer it.
Okay. I'm going to pick it for you then.
Okay. I want that clip. If animals could talk, which one would be the most annoying? Ruby.
I was literally going to say Ruby. Because at first I thought Harbor when it said if animals could talk. Yeah. And then I was like,
no,
couldn't call her annoying.
Small yippy dogs are quite annoying.
Yeah, chihuahuas.
Yeah.
A chihuahua would be so annoying.
Yeah. Ruby's getting older, so she can't hear as well. So, like, when people knock on the door, she doesn't always respond, which is getting nicer. But, like, when my parents come over, she gets so excited she'll just bark for a minute straight, and like it makes me want to claw my skin off.
Gee.
Yeah, I love the dog, but I don't love the sounds.
How old is Ruby now?
Old. 13, 12. Old.
Wow.
But small dogs live a long time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to beat Ruby on that answer. Maybe goats. I feel like they have a lot to say.
Yeah.
They're always making noise.
That's my best goat.
But I feel like goats are also funny, so maybe they wouldn't be annoying.
I think my experience with the mountain goat reminded me that I think they're the most underrated backcountry animal. They're like small white horse. They look like it could be cousins of unicorns or something. Like, yeah, they're very almost mystical looking. Yeah, they're not as big as like an elk or a moose, obviously, but they're so stark white and they're just really interesting creatures. Last thing I should mention is the train sells both snacks and booze.
Love that.
So yeah, 1+1 for the train. I didn't actually drink on either route because one was before a backpacking trip and the other one was before a 6-hour drive. So I didn't think alcohol was going to serve me either way.
Fitting.
But if I was going to stay that last night so I got off the train at 5:30, went to the Verizon store, didn't get on the road till close to 8 o'clock, and then drove back. So I got back at like almost 2 a.m.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the wrap up. The Weminuchoo Choo Loop, definitely recommend it if you're in the area, and possibly recommend it if you're just looking for something in that distance. I will say 2 other options I was looking at in this similar distance. One that we were going to do last year and got fired out is the Devil's Dome Loop. I've had a lot of people say good things about that. That's in the North Cascades off of Ross Lake. That's supposed to be very cool. I didn't choose it because logistically I just wanted something easier, car drive. The other one that I was looking at was Ray Lakes Loop.
Yeah, that one I almost did once too. Yeah. I've heard that one's really good.
The challenge was the flight times for me I would have gotten in, then I would have had to try to get the walk-up permit the next day, and then would have had to start the hike the day after that.
Yeah.
So it's just too much downtime. But if you could plan the arrival of your flight to be early in the morning, then you could potentially get to the ranger station to start the hike the next day.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do some segments.
Yes. Let's pause quick first, though.
Yep. To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show, I got a couple options here. I'm going to do this one because it is so relevant to my little backpacking spiel. This is the essential gear for sun protection on your thru hike. This is from our editorial intern, Ariella Nardizzi. Basically just outlines all the different sun clothing options, more information about UPF ratings and all that. And then she offers some of her specific favorites. As always, I want you guys to check it out. But I think maybe one of the next frontiers would be a wide brim hat instead of a sun hoodie. I guess when the sun gets low enough, there are angles where the hat isn't protecting your neck. But I don't know, maybe if it's at that point of the day, the UV rays aren't strong enough. But the wide brim hats are very dorky looking. Mm-hmm. Like, you definitely look like a 50-year-old former Boy Scout type of character, but I just dislike sun hoodies so much that, and I also don't really care about what I look like, so that might be the next move.
Cool.
And a sun umbrella. I might just have to go back to the sun umbrella. That said, there were times where I was climbing where I was very reliant on my trekking poles, and I've had some systems where jerry-rigging the sun umbrella to the pack works better than others. I don't know. I'm still fine-tuning that system.
I've been using a sun umbrella a lot in the pool.
Yeah.
Because I've been reading on a float, and it's not fun when the sun's in your eyes. And I've been trying to figure out how to get the sun umbrella to stay up without me holding it.
That's the eternal struggle with these sun umbrellas is like, how do I make this hands off? I think we had a patent pending where we were trying to make it like float above you somehow.
Yeah, I stuck mine into my bathing suit top.
Oh, there you go.
And it worked for a little bit, but then it would fall side to side. So
yeah.
I didn't actually figure out a full fix.
Is there a UPF rating for these sun umbrellas? I'm trying to see. I'm looking on the Gossamer Gear page. I'm not seeing anything about it.
See my brain?
Repellency of 50 plus. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to learn more about essential gear for sun protection, head to the link in the show notes. Okay, question of the day. This might be the fastest segment ever.
Is this a you question?
Yeah. Is it okay to put ketchup on a hot dog?
Yeah. It's like required?
Required?
Who doesn't put ketchup on a hot dog? Who eats a dry dog?
Well, the people that say no ketchup, I think, are generally pro mustard and other things, onions, whatever it might be.
I'm pro both.
Okay.
I like a little line of ketchup on one side and a little line of mustard on the other, and then I like rotisserieing the dog to just swirl it all together.
There's a whole camp of people that say that you're not supposed to put ketchup on a hot dog.
Why?
Taste, I think. I don't know. Let's see.
Ketchup. Yeah, where did you find these people?
There's a Huffington Post article. What's the title of it? Now when you click on a link, it'll send you like halfway down the page. Don't even think about putting ketchup on a hot dog. Even Barack Obama says no one past the age of 8 should do it. So
I've never heard this take before.
Yeah? No, Barack Obama.
I would love to see a clip of where he says that. I don't believe he would say that.
There's a quote from, do you watch The Bear?
No.
You familiar with The Bear?
I know what it is.
Yeah. It's a very dramatic cooking
show,
maybe like dark comedy show on FX. But they have a quote in this article from the show. Richie says, "What kind of asshole puts ketchup on a hot dog?" Carmi says, "A child, Richie."
Who doesn't put ketchup on a hot dog?
I think like a classic Chicago style hot dog is very strict about the no ketchup thing. But the Chicago style hot dog also kind of skirts that by a traditional Chicago style hot dog has chopped tomato on it. So you're getting the ketchup component via tomato.
I think this is a silly question. I think you put ketchup on a hot dog. We made hot dogs the other day, and I realized we didn't have ketchup, and I did not eat mine.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I could definitely get by. It's not like cold soaking where it's terrible. Like, I still enjoy a hot dog with just mustard, but I'm with you. Ketchup.
We didn't have mustard.
Oh, you had nothing? You're just raw dogging a hot dog?
I would have had to.
Yeah,
they put
tough.
Cheese on it. That doesn't really do much.
How do you not have ketchup or mustard?
Because I live in a house where more often than not, condiments are forgotten outside after eating outside. And so I've thrown out a lot of condiments that I've found on the outside table after a night of pool and eating.
I think there's enough preservatives in most of that stuff that it would be okay.
Do you know how hot it gets?
I think especially mustard, it's so vinegary.
Yeah, well, I've been throwing them all out every time and feeling very wasteful and then buying more. So this was in between a ketchup run.
But we are aligned on this one, but there is definitely a strong school of thought that says you don't put ketchup on a hot dog.
I didn't know there were people that way, but okay.
Triple crown of easiest things to forget to pack on a backpacking trip. I know you guys were all geared up for me to have a story about this.
Yeah.
I guess technically you could round up to say that I forgot to pack an appropriate fuel canister.
Yeah. I was going to take fuel canister.
That's on my list as well.
Because I forgot that when I went to do the Ozark Highlands Trail. Because when you fly, you can't bring it, and then you forget that you have to go get it.
Yeah.
Thank God Taz had fuel canisters, so I was able to get one off him.
Are you taking that as your first pick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go with the one that I almost always forget is a spoon.
Yeah, I forgot that too.
Yeah.
When we did the Grayson Highlands.
Yeah. There have been many times where like the top of the dehydrated meal bag I'll fashion into like the crappiest spoon of all time. I've done what you did where didn't you use Rachel's spoon or something?
Yeah, we both, I think we were all sharing one spoon.
I had a spoon.
You had a spoon?
Yeah.
Oh. Then it was just me.
I'm pretty good at remembering it now, but I've definitely forgotten it at least 3 times, probably closer to 5.
Yeah, that is my go-to forgotten thing, I would say.
My next one this is dependent on cooking, but a lighter.
Damn it, that was on my list too.
Yeah. With all these stoves, eventually the self-igniter thing goes, and a lot of them don't even, like the lighter ones don't have it. But a lighter is a really easy one to forget.
Sometimes I have forgotten tent stakes.
Not
all of them, but sometimes I don't think to like recount and double check that I have a full batch.
Yeah.
And I'll just grab a bag that has them in it. And then when I'm on trail, I'm like, oh, there's only 5. I needed 6.
Especially challenging when you're not using a semi-freestanding tent too.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty dependent on the stakes for the structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad one. I famously forgot my tent stakes on the Timberline Trail. All of them.
Every last one.
Yeah.
Last one I'll put, just because I've caught myself almost forgetting this at times, and I've forgotten it mid-trails, like coming out of resupplies. I've forgotten it in other people's cars. Our trekking poles.
Yeah.
Like I will forget because they're separate, and I look at the pack and I say, you are a complete pack. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then I forget the trekking poles, and I have a tent that needs them. So it's very silly.
That is a great one, and I didn't have it on my list, and I meant to include it on my list because, I've left my trekking poles in hitches before.
Yeah.
When they drive off. That's a real bummer if I wanted to miss, especially with a trekking pole tent.
Yeah.
Last one. This is one I'm going to consider essential nowadays. Once you passed your mid-30s, this is an essential thing, a pillow. I have forgotten my inflatable pillow with the intention of always bringing it on backpacking trips at least a couple of times. And now just the clothes bag doesn't do, especially like if you're camping in cold places. Oftentimes you're reliant on wearing the clothes. So you're often having to make the trade-off between like, do I want this as a pillow or something to keep me adequately warm? But the pillow is very good.
I've got 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
First is a headlamp, because I put mine somewhere in the process of moving into the place I live in now, which was last July, and just still haven't found it. And I always forget to bring it because it's just not where my things are, and my brain doesn't think about nighttime. It thinks about daytime.
Yeah. No, that's a good one for sure. It's also the right size of a thing to forget.
Yeah, small enough.
Yeah.
Easy to lose. My other one is a recent realization from the Teton Crest Trail, which is now that they've updated the plug on new iPhones, and they're updating the plugs that go into like the butts that go into the wall.
Yeah.
To go from USB to that little, what's the small guy called?
I think it's a USB-C now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this I realized in Rollins, maybe? In Rollins, I think I realized it. was I didn't have the right cords with the right butts for the power bank I had, or I didn't have the right outlet butts that go into the wall for the cords to plug into the thing. Just there's a mix match of cords that would plug into my phone and then had a USB outlet, and a power bank that didn't have a USB outlet and only had a USB-C, or I had a cord that was only a USB-C, and then the power bank only had USBs, and then the wall plug was a USB, and then the one that plugged the power bank into the wall plug was a USB-C. And I just hate when you're in between technologies. Like, we had a very good run for a while where it was just USBs going into the butts, going into the walls, and everyone knew what they needed.
Yeah.
But now you got to check both ends of your cords, and you got to check the little holes in your thing. And it's so easy to just forget to do that and then grab cords and think you did everything right and realize you didn't.
Yeah. Apparently there's optimism that it'll at least be a little bit before Apple changes again, because the reason they switched to the USB-C is because I think the European Union sued them because they were using their own proprietary, like the Lightning thing was not a thing that existed in other places.
Oh, interesting.
And they had to do something that conformed to like the society. So I think because the EU required them to switch to something that was more uniform, they just started to do that with all of their stuff. So here's to hoping they stop changing it, because everybody hates that, and they make a shit ton of money by doing that.
I know, it's mean.
You have to buy new stuff. But to solve the problem that you're describing, which I think is a very common thing, I now buy an Anchor wall thing that has both USB and USB-C, and I think it's got two of both.
But don't those charge less fast because they're not a real?
I think it charges at the same rate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know when you get the ones from the gas stations, like those cheapo ones, they don't charge as fast.
This is not my field of expertise. I don't know if there is such a thing, but I don't think if you get like a high quality one that there is a diminishment of. Maybe if you're charging multiple things at the same time, possibly, but I don't think that's true. And then now I got a new Anchor portable battery that has 2 USBs and 2 USB-Cs. So I just basically take those two things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very annoying, and I think everybody feels your frustration on that one. A couple honorable mentions for me. Chapstick, always forget that one. And the pills in the first aid kit is like, if you ever end up using them, I always forget to replace them. The 3 things that I bring are ibuprofen, an anti-diarrheal, and an antihistamine, Benadryl. And there was a period there where I was reliant on Benadryl to fall asleep, and then there was a backpacking trip recently where I was going to get it and it wasn't there. So yeah, that's just a really small guy. Yeah. Let's go to Mailbag.
Cool. Listening to Glowstick, it was crazy to see the comparison because I had no idea the differences our hikes could be. Differences I found in case others wanted to do the O circuit. So it looks like this writer is writing about the O circuit.
In Patagonia, yeah.
Yep. 1. Hitchhiking down there is amazing, and it helps you learn your Spanish, ASAP Rocky, because there's farmers normally that have little English. It's just like the AT atmosphere with hitching. It was a Chinese tour bus company that picked me up and dropped me at Torres del Paine. Is that how I say it? Torres del Paine?
Piney,
Torres del.
I think.
Anyway. 2. I had no clue there was an on season and an off season, so the O circuit turned out to be closed when I got there. I figured I'd do the W instead, since I was there and met an American couple by chance that hired a guide, which was allowed to hike in the off season if accompanied. If I split the cost with them, I could come along, so heck yeah. That meant I saw not a single soul aside from us and our guide, who was awesome. Important, this whole hike took 6 nights and cost me $150 USD. So the group total was $450. Also, it meant I didn't know there were warm places and hot food because those were all shut down, so it's more like the regular AT where you have your own food, but you're out there alone in the wilderness with probably more pumas than people. 3, you can rent tents and sleeping bags in town beforehand for super cheap. It's an incredible trail, but also doesn't have to be a one-time thing. There are so many crazy hiking trails in that area that people should check out while they're there. Cerro Castillo was amazing, and similar to Torres del Paine, Cochamo Valley is popular for hikers and climbers, but they're cray, and solid day hikes up snow-covered volcanoes. It's a nutty country. To boot, you can do an overnighter and cross from the end of Chile's famous road to El Chalten, Argentina, to get a massive glacier. Sorry for the length. I'm just so pumped you got on Glow Stick. From Jen.
Nice. That's good listener intel. Thank you, Jen, for sharing your experience on the O circuit. Is that still at the top of your international bucket list?
I think Tour de Mont Blanc first.
I might be doing that next year.
I might be doing that next year.
Race it to it.
Okay.
5-star review. This is from Sky High and Z Mountain. Always entertaining and informed. ... Let's go with informative.
Yeah.
Love it for all the things, including trail beta, gear talk, and of course, poop stories. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. We've got another one. This is from K Beezy. Yo, y'all too good to be true. Many years of loving every single bit of information and hilarious banter you share. Thank God for this wonderful resource and funny content. Well, thank God for you guys. Thank you so much for the review. If you guys want to hear your review right on this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars, just not 1, 2, 3, or 4. We also take email reviews too if you are on one of those Android devices or Spotify. And if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple, screenshot it and email us at podcast@thetrek.co. We'll send you some stickers. Super big thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Austin Ford, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Fables,
Christopher Marshburn, Coach from Marion Outdoors, Thane,
Ish,
Derek Cook, Eric Casper,
My Friendly Ghost,
Eric Hoffman, Jillian Daniels, Greg Knight, Greg McDaniel, Haley Buckingham. I went too fast there. Haley Buckingham,
Palace,
Liz Seeger, Patrick Ciancialo, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo,
and Tracy Trigger. We're missing one.
We are missing one.
Shit.
We also need the May He Bring Honor to His name.
Yeah. Can you say something cool while I dig up the missing name?
Something cool.
What can you share about wedding planning?
We sent out our
Did you get
save
your
the
dress?
dates. No, but I looked. I went and me and Fireball went and we looked at 2 places. I've learned that this is incredibly exhausting and I have no idea what I want, and kind of felt like less I don't know, like you watch a lot of Say Yes to the Dress and you see everyone just like so emotional in these dresses. For a lot of them, they were just like, they could have been a dress I wore to other things, but they were white. So I felt a little lackluster with some of them. I also think being 5'1", the proportions are off for a lot of them. That was a little bit of a bummer.
If you had to describe your ideal dress and like what its vibes
That's
are.
just it. I'm so particular on everything, and I know exactly what I want for everything, except there's just no guide, nothing. I have no idea what I want for a dress. I would like for it to be white.
Yep, it's a good place. My mom got married in a black dress.
Really?
Yeah, they were hippies.
I love learning new things about her.
Grew up in the 60s.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried on some that my butt looked really good in. So now I think I might want like something that isn't necessarily an A-line.
Do you see a butt in a wedding dress?
Yeah, let me show you my butt.
Just kidding, Garrett.
I'm
trying to think, how could a wedding dress even be revealing? Unless
well,
it was
you're
like
not
assless
seeing
chaps.
my actual butt. It's just tight. So you see.
Yeah, but isn't it supposed to be flowy?
Yeah, but look at my butt in that one.
I'm going to look at your butt. Okay, I see what you're saying. There's definitely
right.
the curvature.
So if I could have a style like that, then...
It's like a Elsa, who's the princess in Frozen.
Sure, we could go with Elsa.
Just saying, like the style of dress that I imagine from.
But then scroll that way, you get ones like this where there's just none of that.
This is what I picture when I think of a wedding dress.
Yeah, that's an
A-line.
that
you look like the Pope in that one. Like,
thanks.
Like, no, I'm just saying, like the perfect circle that surrounds.
Yeah.
I just like have a vision in my head that it's more like flowy. And
I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did start with the
nice.
2 cheaper places, and it showed in the experience. Like the second place, there's a funny thread of text between me and my maid of honor where I'm just screenshotting the person that was supposed to be helping me. like doing other things throughout my entire appointment. Like
Yeah.
she didn't help us with accessories. Mims was going and grabbing stuff off the walls for me to try on with like a veil and certain things.
I imagine they get crazy commissions too. You got to
Well, that's just it. Like, why would you be nowhere to be found? There's only 2 people in the store, me and one other bride, and we each have our own attendant. And you're the one that's doing it for me. And like her giant clasps that they use to make the back fit when it's a different size, one of them just wasn't working, and she just like, oh well. I'm like, can we get a different one? These don't fit me. Yeah. Like I can't envision what this would look like if it's not fitting, and there's no way I'm going to buy something if that's the case. So that was maybe an experience in not going to a more budget friendly place. But I figured the thought process was if I found one I liked that you are something. If I found one I liked that cost less, maybe I wouldn't go to the places that cost more. But now I think maybe I go to the places that cost more.
Yeah, get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Big old gap tooth bitch.
Thank you.
The last Chuck Norris Award winner is Griffin Haywood. You bring me a beer. Is that what we settled on?
Yes, that was a you, but I still don't think this should go last.
There was one thing while we were trying to decide what the name of Backpacker Radio Listeners should be, and I remember coming up with something, us both thinking it was good, and now I can't remember what that was.
Oh, it was like Oh, we thought it was so good.
Shit.
You said it and I complimented you.
Yeah, and now it's gone forever. So at least some people have heard it. Maybe they'll report back to us, but yeah, I don't know why that came up. By the time that people hear this, they'll already know that, but we discovered that I did upload Justin's video to the Google Drive. So you get to watch Justin's interview, not just listen to it. So
plug for YouTube.
That's right.
We're up there.
Yeah, we are up there.
And we have a 10 to 13 minute video of me and Elise's Teton Crest Trail hike.
Oh, sweet.
We put together both of our videos that we each took individually, and we have a nice little mashup of both. And that went out with the episode, and you can see it in full. And it turned out great. Yeah. Sarah did a great job on it.
Awesome. Yeah, sweet. I'm stoked to check that one out.
Yep.
I was doing such good video on this hike.
I bet it was impeccable.
I had multiple time-lapse videos, and I even did one of those things where like you set the camera down and then you walk off to give the appearance. I was getting like very Quentin Tarantino with it, and yeah, it's gone forever.
Yeah, well, at least now you can always tell us how good it was, and we'll never be able to fact check you on it.
Yeah, I know. And I'm bummed because if you Google Chicago Basin, you get photos of it. I'm not to
You think you took better ones?
My photos are better.
Than the entire internet?
All of them. At least the ones on the first page of the Google Images. Yeah, definitely they are. Oh. Also, part of that is just each iPhone gets better, but I've got certain tricks for getting good photos.
Yeah.
People don't utilize the panel correctly. I'll just say that.
Okay. Well, maybe that'll be one of your Patreons, is teaching us how to take good photos.
Yeah. No, but we should do a Patreon where we helicopter to that mountain because I know the exact location of where it is.
Well, before you mentioned the boulder thing, I was going to say, should we do another fancy feast where we like offer something ridiculous if someone brings it back? But you don't want to be the cause of someone getting squished.
No. Yeah, don't find it. But if you did, I guess just let me know what you want. Yeah, I can get you any gear that you want and a bottle of whiskey. Yeah, I don't know. No one's finding that. There's a 9% chance, because even when I knew where it was.
We said that about your socks.
No, that was because I had a pretty good idea of where they were. I think it was like probably within a 1/10 of a mile radius, and like there weren't too many conceivable campsites in that area. It was just a matter of, was somebody willing to go out to that area and retrieve my socks?
Yeah.
Shout out to Fancy Feast, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But even with knowing exactly where the phone is, I couldn't imagine how. I don't, like, you need the world's strongest magnet or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's got a case on the backsides which would block off the metal. I don't know. I don't think there's no way.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on YouTube.
Hi, Internet.
Just plug that. Nice to see you again. And that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.